But the first part was great. I was almost going to interrupt and tell you did it, but then that would have ruined it.
Don't worry. I got around to ruining it. Hi, and welcome to the Inner Moxie podcast, the podcast about not one, but two neurodivergent adults trying to live their lives on the neuro D list and not hate themselves in the process. I'm your host, Ronnie.
And I'm Zanny.
And this week, we will be talking about the AQ-10 test.
All right. Well, let's Moxie meter it. M&M's.
Right.
No red ones for me. That's a callback. Ooh, that's the right usage of the term, right?
That very much is.
Yes. Look at me knowing stuff. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
Don't be disappointed. That'll go away. All right. So where are you on your scale? 0, lifeless?
I gotta say, I'm handling life pretty well. I like a good 5 scale.
You do.
It keeps with eBay and Yelp.
eBay.
But, it's good to be here. It's good this. Without getting too much into it, I had a suicide affect my life this week.
Oh.
And, yeah, I don't know. It could just kind of sometimes put me in the headspace of a thing I know, but that just, how unfair life can be. And not for me necessarily, but for the all too young person that this happened to. And yeah, it's you try and go on, but I kind of hate the fact that we live in a reality where those things can happen, which, that's reality, but I kind of hate that. And as a side note, if you're listening to this and you do have those thoughts or anything along those lines, there is help. There's suicide hotlines and numbers you can call, you can text, you can even chat online. And we'll make sure to link some of those in the show notes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know that's kind of,
Can I add on to that real quick?
Sure. Yes, please.
Because I do have a note
Mm-hmm.
on suicide and talking to people about it.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're out there and you know someone who is feeling those things, don't be afraid to talk to them about that specifically. Don't tell them how great their life is. They fucking know, and that's not the problem.
Yeah.
Ask them why their life sucks. Just have them elaborate. Right. Just don't be afraid to talk about actual suicide.
Yeah.
That's what I would say. I am not a therapist, but I did in my therapy school take a CEU, which is a continuing education credit on suicide intervention prevention training. We got I forget, but that's the thing that really just stuck with me, and that was over 10 years ago. But people are always afraid. People always want to, tell everyone how much they have to live for. That's not what this is about.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know a lot about what takes a person there personally, but I know that they can cognitively be aware of all the things that are probably okay in some sense, but that's not what's going on. So just don't be afraid to talk about suicide directly with them, I would say.
Yeah. And I've had some other people in my life that have been head down that road, and that advice is usually panned out pretty well. So I think that's a good thing to add on. I'm glad you did.
Okay, thank you. I didn't want to take too much away from your meter, but
no. Yeah, well, and I mean, yeah. So I'm pushing through, but it's we'll call it a 1.5.
Fair. Very sad to hear that. Yeah,
I appreciate it. Thank you.
I don't know what else to say to that.
I know it is a hard thing. And like I said, this person was I knew this person, but they weren't as big in my life as they were in other people in my life.
Yeah.
Or they were bigger in the lives of other people in my life. But yeah, no, I do really, it is hard to know what to say in that situation.
It is. And I don't think that something necessarily has to be said, because you're also not sitting here emoting at me, which I've learned this week has been interesting, but I've learned that when someone is having the actual emotions in front of me, it is much harder for me to navigate. So Still don't know what to say though.
Yeah.
But it super sucks.
Mm-hmm.
And I wish it wasn't like that for you or anyone else, including that person. But it happened.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
and that's kind of, I try to stick to acknowledging pain. Because like there's nothing you can say that makes it go away. But you can't act like it's not there. You know,
right.
That's always weird.
Well, and pain, if you never felt pain, you would never learn things.
Mm-hmm.
Like when life is super great, you can learn things there, but it's kind of harder to do in a way.
Yeah. Well, I think, and this is, I catch this from foster parenting a lot, but it's always, I think the throwback is always Inside Out, and where you find out sadness is important and not to be ignored all the time, that sadness is there for a reason, and that's part of being human.
It is.
So how is your inner Moxie meter going?
I'm gonna number it before I talk.
Okay.
I had a note for myself from last time. I was like, listening back to it, the bee sting thing was funny. Here I go doing it again. On a scale, I don't like being boxed. 5 seems too small.
Mm-hmm. Just so you know, the reason I'm picking 5 every week is the same reason I wear jeans and a black t-shirt every week.
Sure.
Is because it worked once for me, so I am just going to ride it till it doesn't anymore.
And I am not like that about this. I am like that about other things. But like, anyway, I'm going to go with 10. I would say I'm probably 8.75. See, I can't even do a fucking...
8.75 is a number.
It is a number, and it's pretty high, and things are
I'm
pretty
kind
good.
of a math whiz, and I will tell you, 8.75 is a number.
Give him an honorary doctorate. This man is a math doctor. This person, I'm sorry, I don't know.
You do. I'm a man.
Okay, well,
we're good.
Sorry, I in another not life, I just need to be more sensitive about people and their gender.
Okay.
That is what I'm saying.
That's
I do know that you're a man, you've said it. But now every time I overtly gender someone, I'm like, is that even accurate? Like, what do I do? So I just say it.
No, I think it's an important thing to be aware of, and I appreciate you trying to make yourself a better person. Not like, I don't mean that from up and above. I mean,
you sounded like that. Just kidding.
No, I think it's a good. We should all be working on ourselves constantly.
Yeah.
So
well, this is something relatively new. Not new, obviously. Maybe not, obviously, actually, but I know about this but I just had an interaction where I just learned I needed to be more mindful, and not because of something I did, but because of just the conversation that occurred.
Right.
Anyway. 8.5. What did I say? No, I didn't.
8.75.
I swear I took my afternoon today.
Nice.
I did.
You have a B+.
Thank you. Yeah, B+. That's probably accurate for my... Yeah. I like things. Like I definitely am a routine person too when it comes to the things. Really loving my routines, really starting to come into my own with some stuff. I got a lot of things done. I'm feeling accomplished. I don't know where the other 1.25 is though. You don't
gotta justify it.
True. Thank you.
You know what? It's interest on it.
Interest. Oh,
like money interest.
It's money. Not that math doctory. No, that was mean.
You're okay. I'll cry about it later. We got a podcast.
Okay, well then that's your problem because you should tell me. If you don't tell me, I don't know, and that's the thing. If you're trying to get me to guess, which we'll talk about soon, not gonna fucking happen. Okay, I accept that.
Yes.
You come to me and you tell me, and I will say something back.
Yeah,
and now we move to the next segment because. Ay. All right. Well, I was thinking like some of the things that I really enjoy about learning slowly because I can't get overwhelmed by anything, including a whole new community of people. I like learning things that help me in my life that were intended and created or solicited or whatever by someone in the NeuroD community.
Okay.
So I was thinking maybe we could add some life hacks.
Okay.
You know, I like to hear how some things work really well for people.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'll start so that you have an example of
Sure.
what I'm talking about because I'm not explaining this well. So I have, for whatever reason, in my head, this little British woman that is super tidy. And this is probably because I like to read books written by British people.
Okay.
And that feature British women who are just naturally tidy and are simple in the way that they live. And that's always been some kind of weird aspiration of mine.
This is like a what's her face? Spoonful of sugar. Mary Poppins.
No, not like that.
Oh, like
But
Mrs. Doubtfire.
well, maybe. Oh yeah. Well, Mrs. Doubtfire is reality. Just the way that they're described. So let's say Ruth Ware, who wrote most famously, I guess, The Woman in Cabin 10. Well, anyway, they're all British.
Okay.
And these the
Agatha Christie. There's
she is one.
yeah. I know British women. Wait, you think I don't know British women?
she did too. All right. Oh, that was rude too.
It's an observable. I think she'll be fine with it.
She won't.
I doubt that her granddaughter is listening right now. It's like, how
She
dare
is,
you?
Hi. Are you a
Hi.
tidy little British woman? Because that's a stereotype. In these books, just the way that it sounds to me, because I can imagine, it's hard for me to imagine like people's faces, but I can definitely imagine like the setup. So it's like, okay, you walk in and there's just like a carpet, one table setting, a small table, and tidy. Things are just simple and tidy. And for whatever reason, I've decided that that's an ideal of mine, which realistically isn't going to happen. But the idea that I cannot be tidy recently has been challenged by myself.
Okay.
6 months in now to, having medical treatment for ADHD. Finally, I've gotten to a place where I'm like, you know what? I think I can little by little start organizing things to not be the tidy little British lady in my head from my stories, but
Right.
like some semblance of that. Something about that is alluring to me. So what is it?
Something to impress the British lady. in your head.
Yeah, she can come in my house and be like, wow. No, too far out of left field. So I looked up some things and I found that if you buy for your kitchen, because I'm like, okay, my kitchen, I opened my cabinet where I keep all the like spices and the things that I regularly use. It's driving me crazy because it's just full of things and I can't see things. So I read if you buy like plastic tubs that you can see through and put stuff in it, that's like a thing. So I bought some, like $25 on Amazon. There's like 32 of them. I haven't used them all. I've used a few, like maybe 5. Super organized. I feel tidy, like a little
Nice.
British lady. And I keep opening my cabinets to look at how well organized and how I can see everything. And it was just a really mind-blowing thing that I never would have thought of. So that's like the kind of like life hacky thing that I like to learn about. And I thought
Right.
maybe if we're trying to build community of some sort here, maybe come here for that. I don't know.
I was gonna say, as far as those go, I have quite a few. But like to your point about the clear bins, I have they're plastic ones from like Dollar Tree.
Yeah.
But they're the kind of wicker, the plasticky wicker ones that you can look through. And that is where I will put all of my produce that doesn't go in a refrigerator. So I have a little basket. That's where I put all my garlic. I have a bigger basket. That's where my potatoes go. I have a bigger basket. That's where my tomatoes go. Smaller one. That's where my cilantro goes. This is a big one I know for ADHD. One that's been going around for a while, and maybe you can do this. Or maybe you'd be interested in this. I'm not giving you homework.
As soon as you give me homework, I'm like, oh, I have to do this homework.
No. The idea being that once something gets stacked behind something in your fridge, then it's just going to die. That's where it goes to die. So you forget about it if it's not the front row. So what you do is load up the front, the main thing of your refrigerator with condiments, stuff like that can get pushed back. For me, I'll put like the meat that I know I'm going to use that week up there. But fresh stuff, put in the side compartment, because when it goes bad, you will see it go bad and you'll be like, this is gross, I'm throwing it away. Instead of having, like carrots that have been back there for 6 months.
That's a good idea. Using the side for those types of things.
Yeah.
Because it is true. They put a crisper with a I don't think about it.
Yeah, the crispers never really worked. And then, or to me, it's never really kept things more crispy. And when
How do you know? Did you do a test?
I didn't do a test. It just never.
Continue.
I was gonna say. Oh yeah, but I remember beforehand, it would be I'd open my crisper up every once in a while, and it was like sludge in the back because stuff had just gotten rotten and got pushed back, and I wasn't seeing it every time. But now in the back of it is just my horseradish mustard, because I don't use that as much as my regular mustard.
You used it one time?
I like horseradish mustard.
Okay.
I like a good mustard, but that is a different show. But I was going to say where it becomes a little bit of a problem is I own and know how to operate a 3D printer. And so anything in my life where I'm like, this needs a spot, I will 3D print out a spot for it. So I have all of my spices on just a cheap Lazy Susan that I got at Target for $3.
Don't call me lazy.
Yeah, that's. Oh, now the public knows.
Name drop. No, edit it out. No one can know. It's not Susan, but it's close. Lazy me.
But next to it, I have 3D printed out stacked holders for my hot sauces, and they are from the big size of the Frank's Red Hots that I'll get for when I do wing night, down to the little size of the more, the maybe more potent, smaller ones that I'll get when I go to a special hot sauce store or something like that.
There's a special hot sauce store?
Not but I mean
I would have been impressed.
No, the one I go to it's not a special hot sauce store, but
World Market?
Alien Fresh Jerky on the way out to Vegas. But they have that huge hot sauce selection of the really fuck you up hot sauces, which I use sparingly from time to time. But yeah, I regularly like to organize and index my video games because I'm very cool. And
that's very cool.
One of the things that bothers me is for Sega CD and Sega Saturn, they used to have these big long boxes for their games that were big and thick, and most of them were broke now. So
the cardboard things.
Not they're like the cardboard things, but they were plastic. But yeah, you're thinking of the right style. So they have places where you can print out the cover and the artwork, and they've made it to fit on a DVD case, which is great. But then my collection, they don't all look the same. So I've 3D printed out little lifters to put my thing on so that they're all the same height. And same with my Sega Genesis games. There's different style cartridges based on whether or not it was from EA Electronic Arts. They had reverse engineered the Sega Genesis when it first came out. So they had different style cartridges. And so I've printed out little things that make them sit evenly. But the point is, having a 3D printer is a big rabbit hole for trying to find hacks and making things go.
Oh, yeah. I don't understand how it makes things. I don't need to understand the science because I'm not interested in it. I just don't know what, is it paper? I don't.
No, it's plastic. Here's the easy way to think about it. It takes a a line of plastic, and you load it in, and it melts it, and then immediately cools it. So it's just, and it builds layer on layer on layer until you have a finished thing. It does take forever. It takes a very long time. Unless you do it shittily, which I do for some things. I don't need it to be extra fancy when I'm just using a level.
Yeah. Okay. Well, cool. So you gave us 2 then.
Yeah.
The things on the fridge thing for sure. I probably will not do the 3D printer.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was lucky that my company got it for me. I say my company I used to own, we bought it, and then I kept it. And also I did animation, so I know 3D. And so I know a little bit of 3D modeling. So it's very helpful to me. It's not an off-the-shelf solution for anybody.
Yeah. I mean, it could be. Lots of people have them,
yeah.
I feel like. Just not me. And it probably won't be. But, yeah. The amount of time I would probably want to watch it, and my cats would probably try to attack it. So there's no way in my current living situation to even deal with that.
I keep it in a closet.
I bet. All right. Well, that was a fun little segment. Yeah, I think we'll see what we come up with next time. But I do think it's interesting. We can edit some of this stuff out, right? Like,
no, it all has to stay 100.
Obviously. Why did I even ask? What the hell? The results are in.
Results are in. That's right. We did both take those tests. Well, I took a test.
I took all.
You took all. But did you just in case they didn't listen last week, do you want to give some background on what test we took?
Sure. So on embrace-autism.com, there are a few assessments that you can take, a few tests you can take if you suspect you may be on the spectrum or would like to know whether you are at all. They talk about these tests as instruments. These are this is a website created by doctors who are also on the spectrum. So they have like a unique perspective, at least into the neurod community and like representing those needs and all of those kinds of things. So we, as Ronnie shared last time, he's on his ASD diagnosis journey, whatever that turns into.
Yeah.
Why don't we talk about this though? I don't really know what the AQ-10 stands for, but it's a short 10 question version of maybe you should look into this, maybe not. I don't know. For me, I'm just like 10 questions is not going to tell you shit as far as anything. I don't know how this is a real instrument. And I had a real problem. There are 4 ways you can answer each question. So it was like definitely agree, somewhat disagree, definitely disagree, something like that. And I'm like, how are the middle 2 even different? I don't know. But I was just like, okay.
Definitely agree, slightly disagree, definitely disagree. Those are the 4.
Those are not encompassing of anything. I understand how to use a Likert scale. This was baffling for me.
What's a Likert scale?
Likert is a 5-point scale.
Okay.
Like you like. But 3 is neutral. So like I can understand that gradation. I don't know the difference, and there was no definition of what these things are supposed to be. I don't definitely agree with almost anything.
Right.
But I was like, okay, use your test taking skills. This just means the most, okay, and the least, and just do it 1 through 4 in your head, if anything else.
I will say, I don't know if this, because you've mentioned you've been to therapy a couple of times. It's not the greatest match for you, but am I misspeaking?
I've been a few times. The last time was life-changing.
I'm sorry. With the exception of
yes, correct.
Yeah.
EMDR.
EMDR. Thank you. My apologies. With the exception of that, but like for talk therapy, which I do, they have us fill this out like every week when we go in.
One?
Not this specific one, but a lot of stuff about like, I've said, and I don't know what it is about this format gives me so much anxiety. It's
written by people without it.
Yeah. Well, even this one gave me anxiety trying to sort through it, but Did you? Yeah.
Yeah.
So
what was
I
your
mean,
score?
I was gonna say, yeah. Do you want to share scores?
Yeah.
I don't remember where this lands. I got a 10.
Oh, you definitely have autism according to this 10 item questionnaire. Yes. Which this is not obviously indicated of.
Right.
This is not the tiebreaker. This is not the thing that's going to get you there. It's just like the, toe in the water.
Here it is. The AQ-10 doesn't offer a lot of insight as it outputs just a single score. According to the test, scores of 6 or higher are indicative of autism or a significant number of autistic traits. No single test is conclusive, and the AQ-10 is not all comprehensive, but higher scores may warrant further investigation. Which makes me feel better that at least I wasn't like going off half-cocked about it.
Right.
How did your score come in?
Got a 4,
Okay.
which wouldn't, if I was coming into this blind and being like, you know what, let me see.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, okay, I don't have autism. All right. But like a few things have happened in literally the last week, which lead me to believe that it's possible.
Okay.
And we'll get into this in a little bit as to why I think that.
Okay.
But this test is this specific instrument. And like, once I did all of them, I was like, oh, these all came from this other one. This is like the short version of this 75 item questionnaire. And I've worked in the autism community doing ABA in various roles and then now administratively overseeing stuff. I don't know. All of these things, not all of them, but some of them feel very ableist.
Okay.
And like they talk about that, like, oh, go ahead.
Oh no, and I was going to say there's certainly this is a very emerging field of study, I guess. Not that it hasn't been around for forever, but we're making especially in a lot of the nomenclature, we're making advances and distinctions all the time, which are good and leading us to better cases. And I know, like, love the guy or hate him.
Lovos?
What's that?
Lovos?
I don't know who Lovos is.
Don't worry about
it. What's his name?
Not Lovos.
The Tesla guy.
Oh, my best friend?
Yes.
I don't remember his name. Elon Musk.
Elon Musk.
He's musky.
And there's a lot of things to love and hate about Elon Musk. But one of the things that is kind of undeniable is that he is on the spectrum. And like I remember he hosted Saturday Night Live not too long ago and repeatedly used the term Asperger's, which is an out-of-date term. And I don't think he was using it to be harmful to him or his community. It's just something that he has grown up with. So I think that, there is internalized ableism when it comes to talking about neurodiversity, but also I think that sometimes just the pace of it leaves you using outdated terminology or ideals.
Right. I could see that as a person who was on the spectrum who probably received a diagnosis of Asperger's syndrome is what it was formerly. Getting that out of your brain is probably really hard to do.
Yeah.
I would imagine. But yes, it is all one spectrum disorder now. So
especially when, I tend to find that the people with money, the more money you have, the less people correct you on things.
Oh, for sure. You can pay. I mean, I won't say, maybe I should say it. I don't know. The glaring example in popular culture that even I'm aware of right now is Kanye West. That person, he doesn't have to have anyone around him that will contradict anything that he's saying or doing. He can pay anyone to do anything at this point. And I mean, I think it's natural that people in general want to surround themselves with people who are like them or who are affirming to them in some way. This person doesn't want to be challenged, so he's not going to have those people around him.
I'll push back on Kanye West a little because he's significantly very, very rich. But he's also, if you listen to Kanye West for 5 to 10 minutes, he will tell you about how Nike is shutting him down and they don't understand him. How Adidas is shutting them down and they don't understand him.
Yeah, but that's not what I'm talking about.
Okay, maybe I misunderstand.
Maybe. I often don't describe things the way they sound in my head.
Oh, no,
what I'm
okay.
saying is okay, so you don't have to have people around you at a certain level that you don't want near you. You don't need that whatever status you happen to have, but it's very easy to have people who were just blowing smoke and telling you you're right and great all the time. That's what I'm talking about. I feel like those are the people that are surrounding this person, and there's not even like negative feedback, but like you pushed back against, my statement about that, right?
Right.
I don't think there's anyone in that person's life saying things like that.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
That's it. And I don't know because I'm not there. I'm just venturing to guess, but taking feedback is hard for a lot of people.
Yeah, I'd venture to say most.
I just the level of things that even I can see, the things that are on, out there in the public, it seems clear to me from the limited view that I have that there is no acceptance of feedback in any way. And that's the danger. And that's how money gets you in trouble there. Because then you're not, I don't know, you don't have to interact with anyone you don't want to.
Right.
But then I don't know where we started.
Let's see. We were talking about Elon Musk. Why were we talking about
money?
Internalized ableism. Yeah.
We can move on and talk about that if you want. Do you have anything else to talk about with this stuff?
I don't know. It seems like, and I don't mean to like push you on it or anything like that, that you were not that impressed by this particular test.
Not at all. Oh yeah, that's what I was trying to get to. So like, okay, some of these do sound ableist, which is how that even came into being. I don't know. I mean, should I just read off the
I was going to say,
items?
let's go over the test. We don't have to say what we put on them, but we'll go over, because it's only 10 questions.
Right.
And we'll go over kind of the
easy.
thoughts on the 10 questions.
Number 1, I often notice small sounds when others do not. I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, I 100% agree with it. But also, like, I know this one always gets to me a little bit because I totally do notice that. But I spent a good portion of my life as a sound designer, and it was my job to hear things that people did not hear. And so...
but maybe you were drawn to that type of job because you could hear that stuff.
Yeah. And there's like I had, the thing, we've talked about before about the electricity in walls, but like I remember there's like one time I was living in a house with a bunch of other fellas, and
that sounds
like,
terrible. Sorry.
It didn't end well.
I mean,
still
not,
friends
not
that I love.
Sure. Sure.
But no, and it was gross. Like you wouldn't have wanted to
I don't
either.
I don't want to live with anyone, but that's the story for another time.
But yeah, good friends of mine. And like one time I was sleeping in the living room and I had to go like over to my buddy's room because he had left his TV on the blank signal. But that small little buzz, it was like bugging me a room over. And I was like, I have to turn that off. And he's like, what the fuck are you talking about? And I was like, the buzz. And he's like, "What? It was off." And I was like, "It is now. I turned the electricity off."
No, I know exactly what that is.
Especially like I assume it must have been worse back with the CRT, like the tube TVs, because
CRT,
the tube, the long TV, the not flat screen TVs, the TVs we grew up with,
the ones with the big butts.
Yeah, front butts, I think. Oh no, I guess it was. Anyway, which way we perceived the television was going, that they were thick TVs.
Yeah. I mean, I notice small sounds too all the time. I can't think of an example.
Right.
But I just always have heard things, which I always thought that maybe my hearing was wrong, but I think maybe it was more gaslighting type situations.
Well, and too, it's also been like a thing of like, I've always said to people, and I don't know how much of this is neurodivergence or how much of this is something else or training, but I'd often tell people when they'd be like, oh, you have good hearing, I was like, I probably have worse hearing than most most people, just because I grew up playing in bands and going to a lot of concerts and listening to stuff way too loud. But I spent years of my life training myself to listen. And so like, I'm just trained to listen well.
Yeah. It's an attention thing.
Yeah. So I don't know as I get older, how much is column A, how much is column B?
And that is the trouble though. And that's might be I'm not saying this is what happened, but this I feel is a very common thing when a person is reflecting on those things. And when you say those things out loud, when you're in a live assessment with a psychiatrist or a doctor, whoever does this, they're like, oh, then it's probably not. And then they check no for whatever that item is. I feel like that's what happens. If you're in a big institution like we are in, maybe the people that actually created Embrace Autism would not do that because they understand. Right. To have that conundrum over that whole thing means probably it is that thing, But a neurotypical who was gone to school and taught, okay, well, if they don't automatically just agree with this, then it's a no, you know, especially as an adult. So, yeah. Okay, item 2. When I'm reading a story, I find it difficult to work out the character's intentions. I had a hard time with this one.
I was going to say, me too.
Obviously, you got the right answer because you got 100%.
Right. Nailed it.
You nailed it.
Take that, Miss Callahan.
I put slightly agree because like there's this idea in my head. Every time I start a new book, I like to read like mystery thriller who killed who things with these British ladies that I already talked about. they're the leads. Ladies. Yeah. And they're the ones figuring this shit out. But I like to guess at the beginning. I am almost never right. So I guess and it's worded weird to me. Like when I'm reading a story, I find it difficult to work out the character's intentions. I put slightly agree because I would like to know, or I'd like to think that I do, but honestly, I'm there for the ride. I don't want to think about it. Yeah, well, I'm not trying to do that.
Right, and I think I almost like step for step the exact same. I put the same thing as you. Oh, and that was my exact reasoning for it. When I am reading a story, I am. First of all, I think it's weird that they put reading, because that's like, I love to read, but it's very hard for me, and I would imagine a lot of people.
I think you can include audiobooks as reading now. You can. I can't in my own head, but that doesn't extend to others.
But when I am ingesting a story, but it's like the same reason I don't like spoilers of I am going along with these characters. I am doing what they're. I guess that's the problem with kind of these tests, and where it gets very convoluted is they're like, this is a pretty simple question, and I'm like,
but it's not.
But it's such a complicated question. When I read a story, I find it difficult to work out the character's intentions. I didn't know that I was supposed to be doing that, and I don't want to do that when I read a story.
And there's only 4 options of how much I agree with this, or the answer. My answer doesn't fit in these 4 items either. Number 3, I find it easy to read between the lines in quotes when someone is talking to me.
No, I don't like that at all. I agreed with you about the beginning thing of like, there's nothing I strongly agree with or definitely agree with or definitely disagree with in most scenarios. I definitely disagree with that. I find it very difficult to read between the lines. And I don't like that.
Yeah. Well, do you not like the fact that you're expected to read between the lines, or the fact that people do it and you can't do it?
I do not like the fact, honestly, I don't care that other people can do it. I get frustrated by the fact that that people are speaking a secret language to each other in front of my face, and more importantly, I never know when they're doing it, so I just kind of always assume that they are. Oh. And so, like, I don't know when to use the decoder ring, if that makes sense.
And
like,
they didn't tell you needed to do it in whatever situation.
Yeah, and it's just like...
So then you went into overgeneralization and use it all the time or think you're supposed to?
Yeah, like, or I'm trying to... I desperately want people to just tell me what they want. And I would love to either say yes or no. And like, probably honestly, I'll skew towards yes, because I've got that little bit of people pleasing in me.
I have a note about that.
Okay.
Not about your people pleasing, but people pleasing.
Which I don't even want to call it people pleasing. I'm afraid of letting people down.
Huh.
But yeah, I don't like knowing that literally any sentence could have a hidden meaning in it, or something in between the lines. Knowing that between the lines exists, it just feels like every conversation I have is a minefield. You know what it's like? It's like playing Minesweeper, but they don't give you the little numbers. I am a very old man for using that.
I love Minesweeper.
It's an amazing game.
I still like to play it.
Yeah.
With an actual mouse. Fuck the little touchpad. No.
Yeah, no, it doesn't work. But yeah, it's like playing Minesweeper without the numbers. I have like no indication, but I know there's mines around somewhere.
Huh.
And that's just kind of what it's like for me to talk to people.
I mean, this was a tricky one for me too, because of all the other stuff I have already said about, the 4 very limiting options, but also, okay, when someone is talking to me, sometimes I can read between the lines and sometimes I can't. I don't know that it has to do with motivation to listen and content that they're speaking about. But I have learned, I think, that, and this is not a conscious thing. What we'll talk about possibly later is masking and unconsciously. I think I've learned very quickly, because I could not read between the lines when I was a kid, and I know that, but so many things have happened, and I'm also very good at pattern recognition and very good at course correcting. That I think, yes, I can read between the lines now to a certain extent. And this is when someone is talking to me as in they're in my direct vicinity and I'm supposed to be listening, or it's hard to not listen because I can hear everything that they're saying.
Okay.
So I can to a certain extent. So I put slightly agree, but I don't know that I've actually can read between the lines, or that I've learned how to notice that I should be reading between the lines and trying to attend to whatever that is. All of that sounds tismy anyway.
Yeah. Well, and I was going to say this, it sounds like I forget. I think at one point we were talking about this in another context, but that kind of, where you don't necessarily read between the lines, but you have spent a lifetime gathering data to know what the answer is that people are getting from reading between the lines.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that. Should I save my note about people pleasing? I thought a lot about this week because, the way people talk about it, it's like, I'm actually not afraid of letting people down. I try to do as much as I can to get people off my back and leave me alone. But that can look like people pleasing to a T.
Right.
Because other than like when I was growing up, my parents who could be disappointed in me, which is worse than other things.
Oh, I've specifically gone out of the way, not that it helps you any, but to tell my kids of like, I'm never disappointed in you.
Oh,
sometimes you'll do things that make me angry. Sometimes you'll do things that make me sad. Sometimes you'll do things I disagree with, but I'm not disappointed in you.
Right.
Because I do think that can be like heartbreaking for a kid to hear. And I'm a softie and I won't do that to my kids.
Aww.
I will yell in anger at them, but then I apologize.
Well, that's the
parenting
important
context.
thing.
Yeah.
Children need a model of how to handle situations. If everything's always great, how are they going to know when they don't have these great feelings? What are they supposed to do?
Mm-hmm.
Like parenting at its core, the intention is you're teaching someone how to navigate all this really hard shit that they're going to deal with. So however you deal with it, whether it's directly or it's modeled in the house, however.
Mm-hmm.
So that's great.
Yeah.
Also, as a not parent, I do feel qualified to say these things as a person that has coached many parents in many situations, mostly in ABA, but also in regular therapy when I was doing all that.
Right. Well, and too, I was going to say, I forget if I've mentioned or not, but just so the full story is out there. I do have 3 kids. One of them is autistic. One of them is ADHD. Mm-hmm. So I am not only living on the spectrum, I am raising folks on the spectrum as well.
Woo.
Woo.
We are a good bunch of people.
Mm-hmm.
I would say.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, I had a lot of problems with item 3. Number 4, I usually concentrate more on the whole picture rather than the small details. This is very ableist because they want you to say only small details.
Mm-hmm. And
I'm like, I used to focus only on small details. And then when I learned, okay, now your job is to look at the big picture because now I can do that. Mm-hmm. I love a good detail, but I can also keep the bigger picture in mind. And I've overgeneralized or transfer that over to other areas in my life where I'm able to say, okay, a few steps ahead probably has something to do with taking Adderall and being able to think a few steps ahead all the time, not all the time, but a lot of the time.
Yeah.
So I have a big problem with that because like my answer does not indicate, autism as whoever wrote this intends, but both can be that. Does that sound right? I don't know. I don't like that one at all. As one of 10 to choose from,
right?
Out of the 75 questionnaire that I took, that all these came from. Well, are you big picture or detail?
I mean, I consider myself detail oriented. It's. I know it's hard because I also get very literal thinking about it, and so it's like I find it hard to concentrate on the whole picture rather than the small details. I'm like, but if you're concentrating on something, that means you're going to be looking at the small details of it.
But the big picture is the why. They're both there for me, which is why I had to put slightly agree, which is a throwaway I've learned in this test.
No, I put definitely disagree because I think in a billion little steps a day, and that's just how that made. By the way, I agree with all the points you're bringing up about it.
Yeah,
but yeah,
I think too it's influenced by the fact that in my job I am big picture almost exclusively. I don't get to do small detail tasks. So now, like the way that my brain, when I learned ABA, I was like, cool, I can do anything. As far as behavior modification, but like. I make this major shift over. So now I'm like, okay, well now this has now been illuminated, or this switch has been turned. So now I can see the big picture and everything, which I don't know how that works, but I'm kind of glad that I can have both.
Right.
But I definitely would get lost in the small things and, the paralysis part for sure. Like if the task is too big, I mean, I have a million things. I have them in my backpack right now. I am happy to show. I will unmask in real time.
Let's see it.
I've got all these different lists, right? Okay, this is a notebook of stuff that I need to just write down so it's somewhere. This is my journal, which there's something I wanted to talk about it in here. Oh no, that's the wrong one. This is my work to-do list. It's daily planner.
Ooh,
this is my home one. This is my work note thing. This is my, and I have to use all of these things. And I really like it because now all the information has a place to go. I don't know how this has to do with.
Well, I mean,
what I just said. What did I even say? I lost my paper. Here it is.
You're saying how you were big picture and then you
had
a million different things that show you're actually very detailed.
I am very detailed, but I'm also very big picture. It's both. I mean, I don't know. That's why this question, I was like,
I guess. Well, and two,
I can't answer it.
And I don't want to put words into your mouth.
Please do.
But it seems like you concentrate on the big picture by concentrating on all the or by making sure all the details are right.
And I got fucked up on the details of the stupid question.
Yeah, well, and I can totally see that, and
because I delineate now, I just delegate all the little detail things. You do, and I can think about them all at the same time. And if I'm thinking about too many of them, I have a place to put those things so that when I need those details, I can access them. And distribute.
Well, because I'm a big I am effective at one thing at a time, and so if you've seen me set up for this recording setup. And the big picture idea was had at home, and that's podcast. And now I need to put together the million little things that go into doing it. And that is just how I think. And that's why I put definitely disagree. But I think kind of that it's weird that me and you came up with different things to click on with almost identical rationale of because I didn't even think of concentrating on the whole picture as an asset or a good thing to do. I mean, I acknowledge that it's there, but I'm a very one thing at a time. That's how my brain works. And I functionally do the things that I do well, and I do them well one thing at a time. So I don't feel I wouldn't say never or no. I don't think I've ever felt particularly bad about not being a multitasker.
And I'm a mega multitasker. Yeah. If I do one thing at a time, I will fall asleep. Case in point, the movie theater. Movies I like and probably would love, cannot see it in that venue. Very difficult to stay awake. It is either time of day. It doesn't matter actually what the time of day is. The last time I tried, you get in
the theater, it's
okay, I can't do it. I need to do so if I'm at home, I need to have my phone and be playing a game as I'm ingesting whatever the content is. Lately, it's been the Fargo series.
Good.
Yeah.
Keep that phone away from the fucking theater.
Right. And I don't. But then I'm like, I don't know what to do. Power down. Bye. And I'm asleep. It's funny. It's also a waste of fucking money.
It is, especially now.
Yeah. They not expensive. Worth it. And if it's a scary movie, I'll probably stay awake, but honestly, probably wouldn't pick up on half the stuff that's going on in the movie. And my brain is thinking about a million other things at the same time. Because if I can't multitask, at least with two things going at the same time, my brain is not enough is happening. We don't function this way. We are not going to function right now.
See, that's weird because you're a weirdo. No, I'm kidding.
No. I love it.
No, I was going to say it's just kind of getting down to these definitions because, and maybe I think of multitasking, because sometimes I can't get out of bed unless I have an audio to listen to, either music or a book or a podcast. I just can't motivate to get going without that going. Sometimes I do need background stimuli to balance out the task that I'm doing.
Yeah.
But I don't consider that multitasking. I consider multitasking doing two, I don't know if you'd call them work-related things at once.
Multiple tabs, completing multiple things at the same time?
Yes.
Oh, I can do that too. I love it.
Yeah. And I'm sure you can. It's just, I think it comes down to, and one of the hard things about, all of this is off of one sentence question. And it's so subjective that...
That's why you can't diagnose yourself at home.
It seems difficult.
Not medically. Yeah. And not off a 10-item questionnaire.
No. And not saying it's completely useless, but...
It's not.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, if you took this before going on your journey, you'd be like, all right, this is accurate. I'm feeling reinforced, and that's not the word I was trying to use. Validated.
Yeah, validated.
on this new path or whatever. Yeah.
I am curious to think of, or to think of, to know what you thought of number 5.
I know how to tell if someone listening to me is getting bored. I 100% can understand that.
This is the one where it got very, very hard for me. Because it's like, I know how to tell if someone listening to me is getting bored. And at first, I was like, oh, I definitely know when somebody's getting bored when I'm talking to them. But then I thought about it, and the problem is, and this may be related to other things, I think I know, because I just always assume that I'm boring people.
Oh.
Like 100% of the time, if I have talked to you for more than 5 minutes, I am trying to get over the fact, I'm trying to rationalize in my head of like, I'm not boring this person yet.
Huh.
Which, who knows, maybe I've never talked to you for more than 5 minutes and you haven't been bored.
I would
but
disagree based on the previous episodes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but like it's Robin's in here. We've talked a lot, and I consider Robin to be a very, very good friend of mine. I talked to her for more than 5 minutes, and I think I'm boring her. And it's this is most everybody, and so it becomes hard on sussing that out of like, I know how to tell when someone listening to me is getting bored, and it's like, no, I don't, because I just always assume they are. And it's, I also know that ADHD, which I do have, a common side effect is rejection sensitivity disorder or disorder? Dysphoria. Thank you. And so, yeah, but that's, and more than, because I think I opened up a little bit of the can of worms on the everybody's always bored, but with me. But I think the thing I'm kind of getting at with that is where kind of the hardship of some of these questions lie. Of that situation being what it is. How do you then answer a question like this?
Right.
Because the two answers are the two opposite ends.
And
I got the 10, so apparently I got it right. But.
Right. And I 100% got it wrong, because I think the answer that they want you to get to indicate that you have the autism is you don't know. And I know, but it's not because I am great at actually naturally reading facial expressions. It's because even if I meet a new person, if I talk to them for a few, I can already pick up on all of their little patterns of behavior. And so once there's a shift in that, there's a change. And I know that they are bored. And it's not because of a face that they've made. It's because they have changed the way that they are behaving in my presence. And I don't think that that's a neurotypical thing. I mean, is that accurate? I don't know.
I mean,
I think it's hypersensitivity to pattern recognition. And so in that sense, yes, I do know when people are getting bored. And what I say, especially now, in sometimes a tactful way, or at least in like an endearing way, is like, you don't seem like you're interested in this anymore. Should we move to something else? Like, I just say stuff like that now, which is me kind of like unmasking in real time, because like, I don't want to continue talking about something that someone hates unless we have to. Because sometimes there's shit you have to talk to people about at work that you don't love, but you have to talk about it.
Yeah. Family and friends, you got to talk about shit that you don't love, but you got to talk about sometimes.
Yeah. Friends, I don't know. Do you?
I mean, from sometimes.
Oh, okay. I haven't lately.
Oh, that's good. Not a lot, but from time to time.
I'm sure that's true. I can't think of any, but
yeah.
I said my recall's better, but it's not great today. Number 6, I find it easy to do more than one thing at once. We already talked about this.
I was going to say, yeah, we both
definitely agree. Number 7, I find it easy to work out what someone is thinking or feeling just by looking at their face. Again, this goes back to what I just said about pattern recognition.
Right.
Once I've gotten to know your face or gotten to watch the patterns of the things that your face is doing, I just don't think a neurotypical thinks of it in this way. It's not like this face means happy or sad or whatever. Right. It's like, this has now changed. So why did it change? It doesn't alert me to what the change is.
Right.
Like obvious, maybe not obviously, but I think we've all kind of learned that if someone furrows their brow and gets very, crosses their arms, these are things you learn in textbooks literally as indicators. So like, okay, that probably means that person doesn't agree and has something oppositional or negative to say about whatever I'm saying.
Right.
But does that mean that they're angry? I don't know. Does that mean that they're confused? Does it mean that they're upset? Does it mean they're irritated? Does it mean that maybe this is just what their face looks like? Like, I don't know.
Well, and to your point, I think a question like this, if I find it easy to work out what someone's thinking just by looking at their face, I don't think there's a human being alive that if I am in the middle of an ugly cry with snot coming out of my nose won't go,
really happy.
He seems all right.
Yeah. He's doing great.
Yeah. So are we talking about like when somebody else is pretending not to be mad? Is that the face that I can tell that they're being mad? Like, I don't even know what face they're referencing here. Like, I don't know. Maybe that is a thing. That neurotypicals just go around looking at each other's regular looking faces and go like, oh, that person feels this way right now. And
they would think I hate everything, which I do, but not interpersonally. Like in a grand scale, people suck. People, things suck. But things are also really great, and people are also really great on an individual basis.
Yeah. Well, and I think. Yeah, I mean, that's a different topic.
It is.
But yeah, and I think that's why, like, I'm not trying to pick on just this test, because like I say, I take a very similar one before each therapy session, where also they give you a timeline of like, in the last 2 weeks, how have you? And I'm like,
I had to do that too.
And I'm like, and what bothers me is I know, even though it says 2 weeks and I'm thinking of the last 2 weeks, that if I took it an hour ago, I would have had different results. And that bothers me personally because I think my therapist is going to call me on it. I don't know why she would. That would be insane.
I don't think they look at it. I think they look at the final score.
Right. And I know it's just an indicator, but like that's the kind of...
But it's like that compulsion to tell the absolute truth, and that truth could change even though it's been an hour. Like I honestly... time blindness wise, like I could tell you what I did yesterday, but I couldn't tell you if I don't know, got a haircut 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago. I don't know, but I would have to somehow include that in this test.
Right.
Or it's not a test, that thing. I
was going to say exam. That's even worse. That's even farther, I guess, from
in the, what do they call them? Measurement tool. That's not what they say. I don't know.
The measurement tool.
Click this link to do this thing.
The evaluation.
There you go. Yeah. It's just to screen whether or not you're going to kill yourself this week. And you got to talk about it. Like,
yes.
They're looking for that heavy stuff, which if you were trying to and you didn't want any, you would probably just lie.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I clicked that button once on the slightly agree. And then I had to fill out extra stuff, and I don't click that button anymore.
Yeah.
Which for people listening, I am not in any suicidal. That's not where I am.
Right. Life. But I mean, self-harm and suicide are related, not the same.
No.
And that's a double-edged sword. Because a mental health provider should know that stuff. Yeah. But also knowing that that's going into Kaiser's records somewhere and this could be used against you. Like, does it really encourage you to tell the truth?
Right.
The full truth?
Yeah.
No, I would say not. Which sucks. That's one of the really shitty things about being with such a huge conglomerate of I don't like the way I say CL.
I don't know what CL is.
That.
Oh, the sound CL.
Yeah.
Craigslist?
I heard it again. The first time I don't even want to say it, but that Cleveland clinic, having to say that multiple times, I was like, I don't like how that sound comes out of my own mouth. I just heard it and I just stopped every thought I had.
I know it's very hard when you pick up on those things about you. No one else is picking up on those.
I know. I'm not embarrassed about it. It's just like, there it is again. I hear it. If someone else hears it, I'm with you. If you don't mind it, thank you. And we should leave all this in because this is me unmasking. Just being my real self. And my real self got real annoyed with that.
Yeah.
Like, how did that come out of my mouth like that? That's not how it sounds in my head.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know where we were, but I lost it.
Oh, I'm sure.
I was mid-sentence. Doesn't matter.
Maybe if we read it, it'll click for us.
God, I never want to say those things again. Okay. Number 8, if there's an interruption, I can switch back to what I was doing very quickly. Obviously not. Just happened. Couldn't do it.
If you listen to the first episode of this podcast.
Right.
Where we never even touched on the thing we were supposed to touch
right.
on. The thing we're still kind of circling back to.
We are. And I'm feeling like that's going to be a next time.
Also, too, like, I don't know. Interruption is a weird word. I don't like the subjectivity of this. Because interruption could be like, someone sent me a text message. Nope. I'm working right now. That could be an interruption. Or, someone just threw a remote through the TV. That is an interruption that would take me more time to get back from. And so, I tend to, I got a text, tends to break me off from what I'm doing. But, the scalability, I guess,
True.
of these is unknown. And it just leaves so much subjective stuff, not so much because I understand a lot of this by its very nature has to be subjective, but it's not subjective on how you feel about things, which I think is that's a good place for subjectivity to be, but it's subjective when it comes to, or at least to my eyes, it's subjective when it comes to the scalability or the size or the definitions that it's putting out.
Right.
Or even more than subjective, it's leaving you up to define those things.
Which and this is a place where people generally mask, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even when you read, you can mask when you read, and interpret things. It's way too, I love a good definition. I would love for all of these terms to be, I would at least like these responses to be defined, but yes, I agree. I think we're not supposed to think that hard about this though. And I think that's what they're relying on, not understanding the audience. I think that's the underlying thing.
Right.
Number 9, I like to collect information about categories of things. I do.
You
literally already said it.
Yeah.
Today.
That you like to collect
that you do with your Sega Genesis games.
I do. Also, if you'd like to hear me rant about the information I collect about things, you can go check out the Band Media podcast.
Oh, yeah. Shameless plug.
My history podcast about a collection of, the loose tie is that it's controversial media. But that's the reason I set that up was I got to talk about the history of video games, of music, of film. We even have one episode on fashion. The Zoot Suit, there were actual riots for it. It's not just a ska song from the...
Throw back a bottle of beer?
Yeah, no.
Is that the words?
That is the words.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh, hold up. But I'll go off on it later.
Okay.
It's really interesting.
We'll stop. We'll stop this for now.
But yes, I do love collecting information. It's also free. Also, knock-knock jokes. I like collecting knock-knock jokes.
What's free?
Information.
Oh, yeah, you're right. The Google machine really revolutionized.
Yeah.
No more Encyclopedia Britannica.
No.
We had one. I was doing shit in 4th grade based on 1978.
I had an encyclopedia set, but it was out in the garage, and I just made stairs out of it and walked up and down it.
It's probably good use from now, if there's any in print.
I remember, I think it was 96, the first time we got one on a CD. Like, ooh, look at all the information at our fingertips
CD-ROM,
now.
Right? If they only could see 4 years in the future. I also like to collect information about categories of things, but it's mostly... Well, okay, I have all of this information that just needs to get out of my head and onto some paper. That's one form, but that's not really organized. Not that it says it has to be organized, but when I think about categories, I think about organization. But that's not a real association or exclusive anyway. I like to know a lot of things about, like, okay, so when I start a new X, Y, or Z, start a new podcast, start a new television show. Oh, how old am I? It's a TV show.
You can say television and TV.
But I don't talk like that. I don't know. I don't know where that came from.
You stop defending me.
Stop defending me. You don't know that I don't do this.
You've heard me say TV maybe 3 times. You don't know if I'm a television or TV gal.
It's a TV program. It's not.
I do know whichever if it's television or TV, you're not a ma'am.
Thank you. You're right. I'm not. That is not a fun term. So I say collect. Okay, so I love the show The Office. So good. Almost all day long. Whatever you've said tonight, I've already shut down 100 Office quotes to say back. Internal scripting, I believe, now that I've been thinking about things. But The Office influences how I speak, and not necessarily, it is my exact sense of humor. I would not say that it has replaced my sense of humor, but it aligns and I use it that way. And it, so between that and 30 Rock, I mean, I use anyway. So, but I know not everything, because like when I think of a super fan, I think of someone that can tell you every single thing about every single, but it's probably the biggest thing that I know the most about. Also Harry Potter, but we won't talk about that. I know you hate it. Before all that stuff went down, I was I hate
the creator of it.
I know you do. I love this. I love the series. I don't, now that you've highlighted some things, I have ignored all of everything.
Yeah.
Haven't engaged the content. But like, it's one of those other things too, though, that know a lot about, absorb the books, absorb the entire show over and over, repeat. I've read those books a million times. I have watched that series hundreds of times, not sitting there staring at it, because I already said I can't do that. Right. But like background, sleeping, also just absorbing it. However, I don't know. I really did. I have seen every scene many times. And that's how I am with everything. So it's really hard to start new things. It's really hard to, as far as like scripted television anyway, I said it again. So I have to start from the beginning, and I feel like that's a documentary. It is style. But yeah, so I consider that collecting and categorizing things. Does that make sense? Collect information, because I'm collecting that information in my head. It's not, I don't know. Maybe it doesn't count, but I think it does.
I don't see why it wouldn't count.
Agree. I just, I don't know. I always second guess every answer on every test. And I learned that you're not, whatever your gut tells you is the right answer, just go with that and just be done with it. That's a test taking tip.
And it's probably really good for taking tests. There's this quote, I know it from the movie. It may be in the book. I didn't read the book, but you familiar with High Fidelity?
Yes.
His movie with John Cusack.
He plays guitar and below a window.
No, that's Say Anything. That's an 80s. I don't know anything. That's an 80s rom-com. This was 2000s. I guess technically rom-com is one of my favorite rom-coms easily. But it's about a bunch of about a record store owner and a bunch of very intense music people who I've known a bunch of in my life, and some may argue that I have been one. And by intense, I mean kind of assholey.
Yeah, I don't like those. I mean, they're probably nice people. I don't like that you feel superior because you know more about music. Fuck off. Good for you. Enjoy your thing, but don't force it on me. Yeah. I'm not going to interpret music that way from you. We talked about this last time.
And but one of my favorite quotes from it, talking later on in the movie, he says, I forget what leads up to the quote, but he goes, and I just went with my guts. But one thing I noticed as I get older is my guts have shit for brains. And it is always, so like, that's how I feel about going with my gut reaction of like, for tests, I can see where that's totally great. But in life, it's like, oh, I have that, but I really want to think this out before I commit to it. You know,
yeah. I mean, I'm definitely like that when it's not a test taking situation because clearly I can overthink.
Yeah.
We've just overthunk this whole 9 questions in I don't know how long it's been now. Should we go to 10?
I guess.
I find it difficult to work out people's intentions. This is also similar to one of these other questions, which out of 75, why pick 2 that are similar? I was like, is this one of those tricks? Should I do I don't remember what I put. But
here's my trick to remembering. I still have the test up for some reason.
Oh, this one, the printout only shows me what I did. I slightly agreed with when I'm reading a story, I find it difficult to work out characters' intentions. And number 10, I slightly disagreed that I find it difficult to work out people's intentions. And I wrote that, I think, because I can understand when someone is overtly doing something or when something has happened to me before, which I don't think that's unique. I think that people learn that stuff all the time.
Yeah.
I think maybe what they're getting at is maybe, you know, people responding to scams or something all the time.
See, and that is a totally valid way to look at it. I did not even scams never even popped in my head.
Oh. You're talking about just regular people? Because I don't know that scammers are regular people. I think they're demons. Just kidding. Yeah. Not demons. I just think they're nefarious.
I like that word. It's a good word.
Mm-hmm. It sounds good coming out of the mouth too. It doesn't have any CLs in it.
But yeah, I don't know. I find it difficult to work out people's intentions. Part of that is, and this is just where I am in my life right now, just through a bunch of things. And I don't, and see, even this becomes difficult to say because I don't know if this counts, if it's a more philosophical standpoint. But I have made a concerted effort over the past couple of years to, unless people are showing me repeatedly and in a big way, I take people's word for it. I am not a big fan of, I think, the lady doth, what is it? The lady doth
protest too much.
There we go.
I don't know where it's from.
Shakespeare, one of them. But
He
the
says
whole,
a lot.
yeah, or somebody did. I don't know.
I don't care enough about that.
Yeah, I don't know nearly enough about it, but I do know people who love Shakespeare and it pisses off. So,
I can't even read it.
Was I talking about? Yeah, but the whole maybe they, maybe that person probably hates gay people so much because they're probably secretly gay. I'm like, I mean, maybe, but they're out here telling us that they're a hateful bigot. I'll take their word that they're a hateful bigot.
When people tell you who they are, you should listen. That's what they say.
And that's kind of where I'm at in life right now. I don't, this is maybe a bigger example, but Donald Trump says he's not racist. I don't believe that. He has a long history of racist shit that he's done.
But you can't come out and say, I'm a racist. And I think you know that.
Yeah.
So that trumps Trump.
Yeah. Right. So
Words.
like I say, if there is a big, a long running and big enough counterexample, I'm not saying I believe people no matter what, but the general consensus or my general thing is, if you tell me something about yourself, I will believe it. And so when it says I find it difficult to work out people's intentions, I was like, where does me just trusting people fall on that scale? Especially if it's not it's not that I'm trusting people out of an overabundance of trust or naivety. It is a way I have, for my own reasons, decided to live my life, to trust people.
Yeah.
And accept that that'll get me burned on a couple of times, but I think that I'm going to net more by believing people until they give me a reason not to believe them anymore. And a pretty big reason, because people mess up from time to time.
Yeah.
And I just don't want to spend my life looking into every small thing a person has done.
Well, I think that maybe the point of this item is to, is there general confusion about this? Like, I don't know what this person wants from me. Like, I can generally tell when a salesman or woman or person wants to sell me something, and I hate that whole situation. So now I purposely do things to just fuck it up a little bit, to just let them know, like, hey, I'm not going to be a jerk, but also just so you know, I'm not into this whole, we're not playing this game. I'm not playing by your rules, I'm not saying that I'm better than it. I'm just like, I hate it so much that I don't let them do their whole spiel. And sometimes you can't avoid it. Like, we're doing some demos at work right now. We have to participate, and the salespeople are the ones that we're dealing with, and I mean, I say things like, well, full disclosure, your competitor let us have X, Y, and Z to test this out or whatever. Like, you're saying this, but this sounds like just like, tell me about this. And not in a mean way, but just like, obviously in a sales situation, your butt is going to be kissed. That's the point they want. They will not point out negatives really, like, I just hate all of that. Just slimy. Tell me the truth. I would rather know the positives and the negatives. Why am I even talking about this? Intentions.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I think you're actually more on course than we've been for a lot of this.
Oh, you're probably right. But I mean, so like now, instead of like whatever situation I'm in, okay, this is the rules in this, context, which there is some of that, but now it's like, as a person, I am able to, as a person, I wasn't a person before. Did you know? I've leveled up is not the right word, but it's something like that. Like,
right.
I have moved past, okay, this is the context and this is how I act in this context. It's like, okay, this is the context.
You have ascended.
Don't necessarily have to play by these games or by the rules of these games set out by these people. Who are these people to me? Salespeople are no one to me. I don't know them personally.
Right.
In that situation. So
not that they're bad people or that
it's their
they're
job.
nobodies, but that's not of your concern when you're in there, other than being generally polite.
No, they are no one to me. Just kidding. Correct. They, like, they don't have any input on my personal life or me. And, whether they like me or not doesn't matter. They are no one to me.
Yes.
So therefore I feel free to, it's not even about putting the pressure on and like outsmarting them, because then that would be about ego or something. And that's not what it's about. It's just like, I have no patience for this game. Let's talk for real. Right. Let's exit this. And if you're not comfortable with that, then find me someone else. I'll just go. I don't know. I can't go home from a Zoom call, but like other things I can just, another choice is doing nothing and walking away. And that's a valid choice that people, I didn't remember about that for a long time. I thought I had to play by these rules.
Right. No, I agree
inaction
with you on
is
that.
A choice. And not from like I have this paralysis and I have to make a choice or this person will die, something like that. You do have to make a choice, but you don't have to make a choice now most of the time. Yeah.
Which is helpful. I will say I get a little I'm a bit of a pushover. I can be a bit of a pushover in life, and the salesman or two has managed to take advantage of that from time to time. Not like on a car or anything like that. But I do definitely. I feel jealous that you're at that point where you can do that. It's a good place to be. It sounds like
it does. It is. And it's recent. Like the last year has been quite a renaissance period, if I can frame it like that. learning a lot about myself. That will never be done.
Is it mostly corsets? That's what I know from the Ren Fair. No.
Oh God. If I wear a corset or a Spanx or anything like that ever again, I will die. I don't care. I will not wear the clothes that require me to do that. Sensory is another topic for another time, but I refuse to be uncomfortable in my clothes. Spent too many years doing it because I'm fucking tall, 6 feet tall, giant woman feet. I'm a size 12 women's, which didn't exist until recently as far as mainstream.
Yeah.
I wore Chuck Taylors my entire life.
I was gonna say I'm a 13 men's, and that's
Borderline.
That's a borderline. I mostly get my shoes offline.
Yeah. Get it offline? What's offline?
Off of the online. But yeah. So.
Yeah, it's having a big foot is hard. It's really hard as a woman. I wasn't a woman then. I was just a girl in the late 90s, early thousands. Target
not a girl, but not quite a woman.
Right. Just a awkward as F teen tween. Chucks were always cool, so that was fine. But like Target implemented a size 11 in like the middle thousands. So like 05, 06, something along those lines. So I would be like, okay, cool. Like, this is probably what I am. Everything was too tight. But I was like, well, this is what size my foot is. I don't know what else to do. But now I'm in full acceptance of the 12.
Like, so I cut off my toes. And
I almost, it feels like a cut off. I don't know. I just like to be comfortable now is what I'm saying. I spent too much time wearing things that I thought I should wear. This is a form of masking, by the way.
Yeah.
Style, not even just style, but like the types of clothes. Like at work, people wear this. Business casual looks like this. And I'm like, not for me.
Right.
But now, finally, at 40, I'm like, I can do something different. I can find dress pant, yoga pants that actually look nice, are well made, don't make me feel itchy, they fit right. Like, it takes a long time. And as a single person with my own income, which is finally matching the job that I have and things are well there, like I can afford to buy those things, which I couldn't before. So it does feel good to be able to do those things. These are the things that come with middle age.
Ooh.
I don't know, for me.
Yeah. Not for me. I'm going to live to be 120. So
I
still got
he's not even to the middle.
I still got a little while till the middle.
How that goes. I'll be watching because I'll be a ghost.
Nice.
You won't believe in that.
Nope. Still don't believe it. All in all being said, how would you rate this test? You don't have to give it a number. You can give it a grade. You can give it a...
I mean, I think if you have a more classic presentation of autism or, however you want to interpret what I just said, I think it's fine. Obviously, well, why do I keep saying obviously? Nothing is obvious. In your case, with 100% score, I think you did. I think it was probably fine for the next step indicator. For someone like me, which we haven't even talked about it for real yet, but I've learned over the last week after looking back, I'm a real, once something has been put into my head to contextualize and like filter through, basically, like once I filtered everything through this lens of maybe do I have this and re-looking at things, I was like, oh, okay, I can definitely see this. But as a person who is a super high masker and it's unconscious and a constant process of just like, okay, throw that index card out. Here's this other thing. Here we go. Just a constant filing and unfiling. And I don't do this consciously anymore. This is a difficult, this would tell me, you don't need to keep going, which I mean, I probably don't, there's no treatment necessarily. What did I just say? There's no treatment, indicated after a diagnosis at this support needs level, right? That I would assume that I would get if I were to get this diagnosis. Having that validation would be good. Going through the process and narrating the whole thing or like writing about it, or I don't know, just how that all goes might be worth it, because I do feel like some people, not that they don't it's just like, I know I read and come off approachable, and a psychiatrist or psychologist might understand what I'm trying to say and take it from me, whereas a person who is convinced that they have this and is telling you every reason why that same person, that same psychiatrist might think, oh, this person's full of shit. This person is delusional.
Right.
Right. Like, so I do think that it could be helpful if I did do this. I don't know. Haven't made up my mind about anything.
Yeah. Well, and two, I mean,
Oh, I didn't answer your question.
Oh.
So I think this is not helpful for a person in my situation. Because it would deter you from moving forward. Yeah.
Well, and two, I was just going to say real quick on some of the stuff you were saying, and this is very specifically to your scenario. As things go, you are very recently diagnosed with ADHD, and so even like, I think regardless of whether or not autism is also there, or let's put it this way, regardless of if you have autism or not, you have ADHD. That's
100%.
That's well known. That's been documented, and and so, like, I think that, there's something to be said of, like, keeping in the back of your mind, and if it's really good, but you're still kind of like adjusting and learning a whole bunch of, not only to the medication, but I'm sure there's been a bunch of, like, behavioral changes, or, like, we're even talking about hacks right now, and so I do think there's something to be said of, obviously I'm not telling you what to do here, but there's something to be said of, like, keep it in the back of your head, but spend some time with the ADHD. Get to know that, and what you're doing to do with that. And but yeah, as far as it's weird. I think the test is, like, I don't want to downplay it. I have taken better tests out there, and they're not hard to find. They're a pretty quick Google search away. But I mean, yeah, to your point of, I think if it's a good place to dip your toes in. If you don't feel like filling out the 75 one,
I guess
fill this one out, and don't take its word as bond. Even it says that, and I think, and again, maybe this is just that part of my life where I am taking things at face value. But I do think it was more than just covering its ass from a legal perspective. The disclaimer at the beginning, I do think they're being pretty straight up about, like, there's not a lot we can tell from this. This is just and I think if you keep that in mind and dip your toe in, I'd say it's more interesting than useful.
I agree. I mean, we did talk about it for a very long time.
Yeah. But also, too, it may just, who knows? Like, to me, I think more than anything this test says, and maybe even more than, the fact that I aced it, is how much I had to think about this stuff. And that's like when you texted me, and I didn't want to be rude and say, I don't even care what number you got. But I was very much more like, I really want to talk about these questions and what the mental process was. And I think, and I don't know if that's by design, at no point do they claim that is by design. But I do think it is very interesting that you will start to, if you can be, like, a little bit mindful while you're taking it, you can kind of see how your brain is working, which is neat.
I mean, all the things that I said, I literally thought, but this thing took me 2 to 3 minutes.
Right.
Like, all of that, when it's in my head, all of the things that I said and thought through happen so fast. I don't know if that's true for you or not.
Honestly, I don't remember. Time blindness.
Okay. I mean, I do have a history in test taking in general of going extremely fast.
Ooh.
Not always good.
No. That's true.
I learned how to make it good or make it work. Not rushing through things, like making sure I read the things, but also taking that hint of, and it's not like your gut, like when it's in academics, okay, it's either I know this or I don't if it's a multiple choice.
Right.
So whatever that first reaction was to whatever the answers are, I just go with that if I have any kind of conundrum.
So like, it's not so much as going with your gut, like, what do I feel is the right answer? It's not.
No,
it's
your
not
higher self
overly,
is not going to give you the
right.
answers on your math test.
It's more of not double guessing yourself to where you screw up
Yes.
what you had originally done correctly.
Yes.
Yeah.
That.
No, I think that's good advice if you can differentiate those two situations.
Yes. Can you not?
I mean, it depends on when. Sometimes I'm more confident when I maybe shouldn't be, and sometimes I should maybe be a lot more confident in what I'm doing.
I mean, I think most people could identify with that.
I was going to say, I think that's a pretty human experience.
I agree.
Neuro
D or Neuro T?
I know. Our neurotypical brothers and sisters and siblings. We share stuff with you guys too.
Yeah. I mean,
we're not so different, us and
no. I mean, next week we can talk about how problematic that statement can be. But I mean, it is true. Like, people do a tiny marginal amount of things. No. See, internally, it's not even about all of that. Like, I'm not the ableism police for one. I just also really learned and educated myself on what that term means. So now I'm on the lookout for it and just like highlighting that whenever I hear it. I say that shit to myself all the time. And it's not healthy or good or, it's not productive for me.
Right. And I think like one of the underlying things here was that kind of not wanting to be misunderstood type thing. And so I do want to point out really quick that when I giggled and said I'm a child, it's because you said doo-doo back to back. And
I missed that.
Yeah, you said something I do, and that's what made me giggle. Nothing
Doo-doo.
you were saying
Didn't register your giggle. I was too engulfed in myself.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I thought you said something towards me, but maybe you were just saying it in general.
I would have laughed if I heard doo-doo.
Oh. But I just wanted to make sure you knew I wasn't giggling at you.
You know what? Poop is funny, everyone. If you don't think poop is funny and you can't talk about it, that's okay. But just be aware you will be triggered with me.
I would say the concept of poop is funny.
Oh, yeah. I don't want to deal with anyone else's shit. Literally or figuratively.
I barely
read between those lines.
I don't really even want to deal with my own shit, truth be told.
True. Unless it's a nice clean one. That's always a surprise. Like, oh, nothing.
I'm about to save a tree on this one.
Clean pinch. All right. Oh, yeah? Ghost poops? There's ghosts in your poop, Ronnie. What do you think about that?
No. Well,
he doesn't believe in ghosts or
ghosts
poop.
Need to stop clogging up my tights. Poop? What's this poop you speak of? I don't know what you're talking about.
Poop is a concept. It's a construct. Yeah. I mean.
Where would it even come from? I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Many scientists would disagree, but okay. And I think we're done.
And with that...
if you don't remember where we took this test, it is embrace-autism.com. Well, I'm sure we can put that in the show notes.
Yeah, we'll add that in the show notes.
If wherever you're consuming this content, be it YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, etc., if you don't mind, could we strongly request that you leave us a 5-star review after liking and subscribing? And I don't know how all that works, but can you do that, please? Pretty please. Thank you.
Very helpful.
Yeah. If you want to follow us on social media, you can do so on Instagram and TikTok at InnerMoxiePod. If you want to give us any notes about the show, if you want to send in any of your helpful life hacks that have been like revolutionary in your life, that would be awesome to know. So if you'd like to do that, you can email us at myinnermoxiepod@gmail.com. If you want to follow me on social media, you can find my Instagram at Zanism, Zanism. I am a religion and a disease. Still.
It It's fantastic.
It is.
I am also out there and abouts on the World Wide Web. If you would like to hear more of my ramblings, you can check out my other podcast, the Band Media Podcast, which we talked about earlier. But also I am on all the social medias, but I am most active on TikTok at Band Ronnie.
Yep. And with that, we say stay fresh, cheese bags.
Indeed. Later.
Bye.